Music for Worship here, welcoming you back to my channel. This is actually take two because when I first recorded this video, apparently my microphone died, and so I basically got to do this all over again. But the great news is that I now have a premise for explaining this to you better, and so that way things are better overall. And you also can hear the quality of the microphone has actually gotten a lot better because I found a way to actually make it sound better. So I'm very, very happy about that. So happy. And then second off is the fact that I now have just the whiteboard behind me. And I'm very, very, very happy about that. So things are going to be looking a lot better with regards to my videos. So let's get started with this video about me teaching you the major pentatonic scale. Now, forewarning, before you actually get into this video, you must have the knowledge of the major and the minor scales. If you don't have that knowledge, then you're in the wrong video, because this is a bit advanced for you. So you must have a knowledge of the major and minor pentatonic scales for you to be able to learn how to map out the major pentatonic scale. And of course, the major pentatonic scale is the main prerequisite. But the bonus prerequisite is they got to know the minor scale for the way that I'm going to be teaching you. Now, let's get started with the major pentatonic scale. Now, before we get into the major pentatonic scale, like I said before, we have to know what is the major scale in and of itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to write out the major pentatonic scale. No, the major scale, not major pentatonic. But we're going to be writing out the major scale, and then that way we can actually get started. So we're going to take this to the board, and we're going to write out the major scale. We're going to use C for this because it's important to kind of, start with something simple. So let's write out C. Come on. D. Trying to make this look good. E. F. G. A. B. And C again. So now we have there the major scale. Now, the way that we're going to do this is we're going to introduce a game. This game is going to allow us to learn what notes we're going to be using. And in the way that we're going to do this is we're going to attach numbers to this scale. So we're going to put 1 right here, 2 right here, 3 right here, 4 right here, 5 right here, 6 right here, 7 right here, and then 1 with a little sign on the top. When you see that 1 on the sign on the top, that means an octave. So when you see that little mark every time I write it, it's going to represent an octave. Because normally that would be 8. Normally this would be 8. But it is important that we know what is the octave, because it's important for us to know what is the octave, because octaves are important to learn. So we have here this little system in place, which is going to show us how we play the game. Now, the game we're going to play is called Leapfrog. And the way that's going to work is that, and this is the aim of the game, we want the frog to land safely on the lily pads, because some of these numbers are going to have lily pads. Now, for us to be able to know how to play the game, we have to know a few rules. Well, one specific rule. That's going to be a very key player in deciding the last lily pad. And that rule is the frog's jumps are very powerful. So powerful that he cannot jump half steps because the frog's jumps are too powerful. So the frog is going to try to hold back some of that power, but he cannot go any more than a whole step, any less than a whole step in difference. Just letting you know. So that's the main rule that we have to work with. Now, that kind of helps you figure out certain things, but right now, let's take it easy. So now we're going to figure out what numbers get lily pads. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to actually think about it in a general sense. So now we're going to figure out the C pentatonic scale. So you notice I said C pentatonic. So that obviously means that 1 is going to get a lily pad. So we're going to circle 1 right here, and then circle this one over here, because that one is considered an octave. So it's back to 1 because they're both C's. So now we have to figure out what other notes get lily pads. Now, I drew the lily pads as a circle, even though lily pads are not shaped as a circle. They're shaped in a lily pad shape. I'm not going to draw that. So basically, we're going to try to figure out what lily pads we're going to be using. So the way we're going to do that, we're going to think about major and minor scales. So let's focus on the major scale first. What do you think, when you think about this, what makes a major scale a major scale? What differentiates the major and the minor scales? And one thing that differentiates is the letter E, because E is not in the minor scale, so naturally we should put E, because E, when you think about the C major chord, E is what decides whether or not it's major or minor. If it was minor, it would be E flat. But because it's major, we should include E because it is the major factor. Sorry. It's the major factor in this. I wish I had the sound effect, but I'm giving you a serious lesson, so I'm not going to do that. So it's the major factor in a major chord. So we're going to circle 3 and put that as a lily pad on. Now we're going to get into the next one. What chord could we do next? What notes? I think we ought to put number 5 because 5 is the ending of the C major chord anyway. So we're going to be using number 5 in this scale. So we're going to put a lily pad on the 5. And yep, very happy that my microphone is still working. So now we got 1, 3, and 5. Now, we got 2 more to go because when you look at pentatonic, you think of 5 because penta, like pentagon, is a 5-sided shape. So now we're going to figure out what notes are next. So now we're going to borrow from the minor scale and we're going to think what differentiates the major and the minor scales. Now, if you notice, the minor scale doesn't have one note that has not been circled. And now remember the rule. It cannot jump on half steps. So that eliminates one right there. And that would be number 7, which is B. Because it would have to jump to C, which does have a lily pad, but it breaks the rule because B and C are half steps. So because they're half steps and not whole steps, it breaks the rule. So we cannot put a lily pad on 7 because B also isn't in the minor scale. But it breaks the rule because of the fact that B to C is a half step and the frog cannot jump a half step. The least it can do is a whole step. So that being said, we cannot do 7, so I'm going to put an X underneath B because it can't do that. But there is a note that is in the C major scale that is not found in the minor scale, and we can include it because there is a whole step difference, and that is number 6. So number 6 gets a lily pad. So now we have 1, 3, 5, and 6. So now we got 2 and 4. Now, remember what I said in the beginning of this video when I said that the rule has to be that the least that it can jump is a whole step. So now we got to look at the relationship between C and D because it has to jump to another number from number 1. So the relationship between C and D and the relationship between E and F. Now, if you look at this scale on the piano, one of these relationships is a half step. And therefore, we cannot include that note, and that is number 4, which is the F. So we cannot include F in this because the jump that the frog is going to make between E and the next note cannot include F because the frog's jump is too powerful, so it will skip F and go to the next half step above F. And that note is not in the C major scale, so we cannot include F. But if you notice, between C and D, you see that there is a whole step, so the frog can successfully hold on to that power, hold it on, and go to the next note, which is D. So number 2 gets a lily pad. And believe it or not, we actually finished the game. And now you can see that in this case, the frog can now safely jump from the beginning scale, from the beginning note right here to the ending note right here. And it follows the rules that we had specified in the game. Now, there is another way that you can figure all this out. And this is very, very simple. And I think you could clearly see the sentence. You could clearly see it. And that is 4 and 7 does not get lily pads in this game. But remember, we're supposed to learn how to figure this out. So the easy way isn't necessarily the best way when you're starting to learn how to figure out pentatonics. The pentatonic scale, actually. So when you think about it, it's not good to deal with this and not learn how to figure it out. Because it's important that you figure out how to do this without necessarily taking the easy way out. Because if you take the easy way out, then what's the point of learning this? Now, I will make one more point. If you look at the mapping of this thing, if you look at the mapping of this scale, it should look familiar to you. It should look familiar to you. And let me tell you how it could look familiar. There is a scale that we use, a certain scale that we use, the actual note. And when you map out its pentatonic notes, you'll see that it is all uniformly the same kind of key on the keyboard. And that is F sharp. So the F sharp major scale the F sharp major scale, if you notice, actually has its own scale. And that major scale, when I map out its pentatonics using the leapfrog game, you'll notice that it actually represents all of the black keys. And that is what you see when you look at the mapping of the C major scale, is that you see the 3 and 2 signs of the black keys. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And that same mapping is for the black keys. So if you ever wanted to start off with an easy pentatonic scale that you can play on the piano, the F sharp major pentatonic scale is the best way to go with that. But for theory purposes, which is what this video is for, it is the C major scale that we got to use because it helps us out with mapping everything out. So that would be it for today. If you want to learn about the minor pentatonic scale, please let me know in the comments below. And that will be it. That will be it for today. I hope you guys had a fun time learning as much as I have fun teaching it. And I ask that if you have any questions, write it in the comments below. Please let me know what questions you have, because I want to be able to help you figure this thing out with you, work with you together, because as you can see, I'm bringing my channel back up to posting videos and doing things, so I need you to let me know. So I'm going to end it there. Have a wonderful day. God bless you, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Hey guys, thank you for watching this video. If you liked this video, hit a thumbs up, share this video with your friends, subscribe to my channel by following the circle in the middle, and you know what to do. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.